And we're back on Travel Michigan. I'm George Zimmerman. Michelle, next stop over in Dearborn, as we mentioned, to one of our favorite places, the Henry Ford. What's happening there?
We are talking with Patricia Mooradian, president of the Henry Ford. And Patricia, the Henry Ford has a lot going on this summer, starting with the 20th annual Salute to America. Tell us a little bit about this event.
Well, it's an ongoing one, as you just alluded to, because it's the 20th. We've been doing this for 20 years.
Wow.
We partner with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, all-time great in Detroit. And so, we invite everybody to come out. There's lots of food. The orchestra plays just American favorites, and there's fireworks, all kinds of activities and sights and sounds.
And where do you do this, Patricia? Where does it take place?
Well, it takes place in Greenfield Village, and there's a big grove in the back called Walnut Grove, so it's perfect for spreading out picnic blankets, bringing your chairs. A lot of families bring their wagons. They bring their own picnics, or they buy ours.
Right.
There's food and drink, and it takes place for 4 nights, June 30th, July 1st, July 3rd, and July 4th.
So it's next Saturday and Sunday, and then again Tuesday and Wednesday because of the July 4th holiday.
That's right.
Yep.
And on the 3rd and 4th this year, we have Leonard Slatkin conducting, which is really terrific. And that's the first time he's conducted here at Greenfield Village.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. Now this is and obviously this is a big deal, and you have such a great venue for this kind of activity, this kind of event. But you've got a lot of other things going on, both ongoing and other events coming up this summer. So let's talk about some of them.
Well, something that's been going on for a while now, since April, is the Titanic. We have the Titanic. It's called the Artifact Exhibition, and it's open through September 30th. And this is really a commemorative exhibition that heralds what was then the world's largest ship and the sailing and sinking. It was a real tragic event, but a big one that's left a big mark in history, and so it's something that we are commemorating. It's a 100-year anniversary this year.
That's great. That's great.
There are you'll find in this exhibit over 300 artifacts, 250 of them which have never been displayed in Michigan before.
And give us an idea, what kind of things? I mean,
well, there's things that were salvaged from the ocean floor that have amazing stories connected to them.
Okay.
There are a complete replica of the grand staircase. There are replicas of the first-class dining rooms, or not dining rooms, but walkways in their rooms that they would have walked to. There's exhibition recreations of second-class bedrooms, for instance. You'll see china and dishes that were used. You'll see things that were recovered from the ocean floor and learn about how they recovered those and what's restricted to come up and what was able to be brought up. Really fascinating story.
That's great, yeah. Now, and you've got another ongoing event that opened this year, too, your driving event, right?
Yeah, well, Driving America is it's the world's premier automotive exhibition, and it is probably one of the largest automotive-centric exhibitions of its kind. It's 80,000 square feet. It includes 130 vehicles, and we have more than 60 cases of artifacts. This is a permanent exhibition for the Henry Ford. We had a transportation exhibit that closed. We closed for 1 year. We completely gutted it and rebuilt it and opened it this last January, Driving America. There's also a lot of new technology in this exhibit that we've never had before that I think will give people the opportunity to really create their own custom collections that they can then take home with them and access it from their mobile device or their home computer. And that's a really neat new high-tech touch to this exhibition.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned that too, and I think that so many times with museums, and certainly you know this better than we do, that people think, well, I went there when I was 7, so I don't really have to go back.
Yeah.
I mean, and yet what you're talking about is these kind of changes. You have stuff coming in like the Titanic, but then even your permanent stuff gets totally renewed and redone. So
that's right, and it's much more than exhibitions because there's a lot of programmatic things that go on at the Henry Ford in Greenfield Village all summer long. Every month or every 2 weeks or so, there's something new that's going on. There's plays and music and dancing and all kinds of activities like Ragtime Street Fair. We have Old Car Festival and Motor Muster all during the summer. So lots of different activities that, of course, you can look at the website for all of the different events that take place.
Well, and I think in some ways too, your institution in particular is one of those where if you're thinking you can do this in a day, you're just kidding yourself. I mean, it's just not possible.
Well, and that's why we are the number one cultural tourism site in the state, and we have partnerships with over 40 different hotels to make it convenient for families to stay and visit for 2 or 3 days, so they can see and do everything that we have to offer. Plus, go out into the Detroit community or the rest of Michigan and see other things that are around the state that are of amazing draw for everybody.
Well, and as you said, too, especially this time of year with Greenfield Village kind of going full blast, you got all of those activities, plus the museum itself, plus we haven't even talked about the Rouge Factory Tour.
We have the Ford Rouge Factory Tour, which is a really dynamic and only one of its kind. It's the one of a kind, as is the museum in Greenfield Village. I mean, there's no other place like this anywhere in the country.
I think one thing that impressed me about the factory tour is that, and again, as you know, I mean, the fact that you and the museum collaborated with Ford Motor Company when they were doing the redesign of that factory to build this visitor experience into the factory. And so it's not just a, look in the doorway, that's what's happening here. I mean, you actually it's integral to the factory itself.
We while they were redoing the Dearborn truck plant, completely rebuilding it, we were working collaboratively with them in building the visitor center so that we could combine the two and integrate them, as you said, so people actually can walk. Besides seeing the two great film experiences in the visitor center, they go to the observation deck and they can look at the largest green roof in the world, and then walk across a walkway and walk around the factory and see as the cars are being manufactured and assembled.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And then don't forget Maker Faire.
Exactly, and I was going to bring that up. So Maker Faire, that's relatively new to the Henry Ford. Tell us about that.
Well, this is our third year. We bring in about 400 makers, and makers are people, there's a whole do-it-yourself mindset. They call it DIY, do-it-yourself. People who are involved in making things, whether it's creating a scientific invention or something with engineering or technology, or if it's simply arts and crafts and something creative using, fabrics and knitting and even food. There's a lot of food stuff that goes on. So whether it's robotics or electronics, food or fashion, if it's made, it's displayed at Maker Faire.
Yeah, well, and it's as you describe it, it's very eclectic, the things that people, but it's not just all people with inventions they're trying to sell, right?
No, and what we're trying to do is really stimulate people to be inspired and motivated to be creative and to go through a whole process of discovery and get motivated to maybe do their own kind of creation. But to me, it's more about the creative process. And so even if you're not interested in making something yourself, when you come to this fair, you can put your hands on, you can see what they're doing, you can participate with the makers themselves in their own creations, and hopefully you'll be inspired, whether it's to be inspired to be creative in your workplace or in your school or whatever it is that you're doing. That's what this is all about. It's unleashing that creative spirit and the imagination that it takes to really do something special.
Well, I guess it's that distinction too between the phrase maker is, I guess, broader than just inventor or
absolutely.
or hobbyist. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's kind of because there's a incredible range of things that people bring, and like you said, even food. I mean,
well, lots of food, but also people who are doing things with the arts, performances. You'll see a lot of performances, very creative, unusual type performances. People who are doing things that are just for fun and they're not trying to make any quote unquote money from it.
Right.
It's really I think perfect for Detroit because it captures that mindset and that American spirit that really is what Detroit was founded on and what Michigan thrived from. And it's really about those everyday people, those ordinary people who did something extraordinary by being creative. And it's that everyday person who's resourceful or innovative or thinking out of the box in some way that I think makes the world a better place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Patricia Mooradian, president of the Henry Ford, for telling us all about these great things at the Henry Ford this summer. Website is thehenryford.org. That is all the time we have for Travel Michigan today, where your trip does begin at michigan.org.